Okay, so get this right. We are diving deep today into this legal case, and it's from the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's a lot more interesting than it might sound at first.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the idea of redundancy in a workplace.
Okay.
But it's not just like, the legal mumbo jumbo.
Right.
This is about a specific guy
Okay.
who got let go from his job after, wait for it, 13 years at the same company.
Wow.
And of course, this whole thing ended up in court.
Oh, wow.
What I think is so interesting about this case
Yeah.
is how it really digs into what companies can and can't do
Ah.
when they say, oh, sorry, we don't need your job anymore.
I see, yeah.
So the guy at the center of it all, his name is Romeo Sto Tomas.
Okay.
And he was working as, get this, a senior accounting analyst
Senior accounting analyst.
at Caltex Philippines,
Okay.
which I think they're Chevron Philippines now.
Gotcha.
But anyway, this guy, Romeo, 13 years,
Wow.
making good money, doing his thing, and then bam.
What happened?
Redundancy notice. Out of the blue, here's your separation package. See you later.
Oh, no.
Can you imagine?
Really makes you think.
Right. Like, talk about pulling the rug out from under you.
Absolutely, yeah.
You'd think after that much time, that kind of loyalty to a company,
Mm-hmm.
that would mean something.
You would hope.
So that's the question, right?
Yeah.
Did Caltex really have to let this guy go? Or was something fishy going on? Like, was this legit redundancy? Or were they just trying to get rid of him?
Mm-hmm.
I think to really get what went down, we got to, define redundancy.
Okay.
Because legally, it's not as simple as, oh, we have two people doing the same job.
Right, right.
So imagine this.
Okay.
You own a bakery.
Okay.
Two bakers working for you. Business is booming.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy, selling tons of cakes.
I love this bakery already.
Then something changes, right?
Oh.
People just stop buying as many cakes.
Huh.
Now you only need one baker.
I see.
That second baker, their job is redundant. And it's not their fault.
No.
The need for that job just changed.
That makes sense.
So it's not just cutting costs or downsizing, right?
Exactly.
There has to be a real reason that specific job doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And this is super important for anyone who's working.
Oh, yeah.
It means a company can't just fire you because they feel like it.
Right.
There needs to be a solid, provable reason.
Exactly. Has to be legit.
So what was Caltex's reasoning then for letting Romeo go? What was their argument?
Well, they said they had done this big restructuring,
Okay.
a business process re-engineering study or something like that.
Fancy.
Very official sounding.
Right.
And their claim was because of all this restructuring, Romeo's position was just not needed.
I see. But they did give him notice and the severance, right?
That's true.
Seems like on the surface, they were following the rules.
Yeah, trying to do things properly. Here's where it gets interesting.
Dun, dun, dun.
The courts sided with Romeo.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Well, the court basically wasn't buying this whole restructuring excuse. They wanted proof, like, show me specifically why Romeo's job isn't needed.
Oh, so Caltex had to back up their claims.
Exactly.
They couldn't just say restructuring and call it a day.
Nope, not enough.
And then there's another issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Caltex couldn't explain how they decided which jobs were no longer needed. Like, did they look at how long someone had been working there, performance reviews,
Right.
anything like that?
Nope.
Seemed pretty random.
So the court's not happy.
Not buying it.
Starting to look a little suspicious, don't you think?
Definitely raises some eyebrows.
And then, get this,
Yeah.
the final blow.
What's that?
It turns out Caltex was posting new accounting jobs
No way.
while they were claiming Romeo's job was redundant.
Oh, come on.
Talk about a contradiction.
That's not a good look.
Not at all. And that pretty much sealed the deal for the court.
Yeah, hard to argue with that.
Made it seem like Caltex wasn't being totally honest.
Definitely seems that way. So, I guess in the end, Romeo wins, right? David versus Goliath.
Well, sort of.
Uh-oh, there's a twist.
The little one.
What happened?
He won the case, got his job back, even got back pay for the time he missed.
Okay, not bad.
But the court said he had to give back some of his separation package.
No, wait a minute. Why would he have to give money back if he won?
So part of that package was what's called an ex-gratia bonus.
Okay.
It basically means a payment that's not legally required,
Hmm.
like a gift almost.
I see.
And the court said Romeo had to return that bonus.
To prevent him from being, what was the phrase?
Unjustly enriched.
Right, unjustly enriched, but it still doesn't seem entirely fair.
I know, it's tricky.
He was wrongfully dismissed.
Yeah.
But still has to give some money back.
It's like the court was trying to be fair to both sides.
Yeah, I get that, trying to find a balance.
Right.
But you gotta wonder, what happened to Romeo after all that?
Did he actually go back to Caltex?
Right. Can you imagine? Like, hey, everyone, I'm back.
After all that.
Exactly after all
It makes you wonder.
It really does.
And that's a perfect place to pick up next time on our deep dive.
Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. Seriously, can you imagine walking back into that office?
Oh, man.
After all that?
It'd be so weird.
Right. Like, on one hand, he won, right?
Yeah.
He proved they were wrong to let him go.
Yeah.
But still.
It really makes you think about, like, what happens after a case like this?
Yeah, you always hear about the court stuff. But what about, like, the day-to-day after that?
Exactly.
So did he go back? Did they welcome him back? Was it just awkward?
Like, did people avoid eye contact in the hallway?
Right. Was there tension? I need to know.
Well, unfortunately, the court documents don't say anything about that.
Oh, man.
But it is a good question.
Right.
Like, did Romeo even want to go back after that?
I mean, would you want to work at a place that basically tried to get rid of you?
Exactly.
Even if you're legally in the right.
It's got to be tough.
There's that whole sense of betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if everyone was professional, could you ever really trust them again?
Would you ever feel safe in that job?
Knowing they might try it again someday.
That's a good point.
And it's not just about Romeo himself, right?
Right.
This whole thing affects other people at Caltex.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe even other companies in the Philippines watching what happens.
Yeah, like, what are they going to do?
Because this case set a precedent, right?
It did, big time.
It's like a message to other companies. You can't just use redundancy to get rid of people you don't like.
Exactly. Can't just throw that word around.
No more restructuring shenanigans.
Unless you've got the proof.
They got to be able to show why that job isn't needed anymore.
Clear process, solid evidence.
Fair criteria, the whole 9 yards.
It's a win for transparency.
For employees, too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, before this case, going up against a company like Caltex, that felt impossible.
David versus Goliath.
But this shows it can be done.
And that's gotta feel good.
That's
really empowering.
Yeah, for sure.
But okay, before we move on, I want to go back to that bonus thing for a second.
The ex-gratia bonus.
Yeah. That one, was that like a common thing in the Philippines?
Hard to say.
Like, was Caltex just trying to sweeten the deal? You know, hoping Romeo wouldn't put up a fight?
It's possible.
Because it kind of seems shady.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Like, here's some money, now go away quietly.
Don't make any trouble.
Exactly.
Makes you wonder about the ethics of it all.
It really does.
And it's a good reminder for anyone in a similar situation.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just take the money and run.
Right. Read the fine print.
Get some advice.
Make sure everything's legit.
Exactly.
Because this whole case, it's about more than just the Philippines.
Oh, for sure.
This is about worker rights everywhere, corporate responsibility, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a universal story.
It really is.
About that power dynamic.
Yeah, between the company and the employees. Who has the upper hand?
Even if the law is on your side, it can still be a tough fight.
It can, and that's what makes this whole case so interesting, I think.
I agree.
It reminds us that we got to be aware, you know.
Stay informed.
Know your rights and be ready to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, if you have to.
If you have to.
So for our listeners out there thinking, okay, this is interesting, but what about me?
Yeah. What does it all mean?
What advice would you give them?
That's a great question.
It is.
And it leads us perfectly to the last part of our deep dive.
Oh, can't wait.
We're going to get into all that.
Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. Okay, so, like, after hearing all this, I'm thinking, what if this happens to me? It's kind of a scary thought.
It can be.
One day you're fine, going to work.
Doing your thing.
And the next, bam, redundancy notice.
Yeah, it's not fun.
So what do you do?
Well, I always say knowledge is power, right?
True.
The more you know about your rights as an employee, the better you'll be if something like this happens.
Okay, so where do you even start?
Right.
Employment law can be so confusing.
It is. It's a lot.
Like, where do you even begin to understand all that?
Well, luckily, there are tons of resources out there.
Okay, good.
I always tell people, start simple.
Okay.
Google Department of Labor plus your country.
So like Department of Labor USA, something like
exactly.
that. Got it.
Their website usually has a ton of info.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, look for sections on employee rights, redundancy, termination procedures.
So anything that's relevant to, you know, getting let go.
Exactly.
Okay, but what if, like, it's already happening, you've got that notice, and you're not sure what to do?
Okay, well, first things first.
Yeah.
Don't panic.
Easier said than done.
I know, but seriously, take a deep breath.
Okay, breathe.
And remember, even if they're saying your job is redundant, they still have to follow a process.
Oh, so they can't just, like, kick you out the door?
Nope, they have to do things properly.
Yeah. So that's why it's so important to really look at that notice.
Absolutely.
Like, don't just sign it without reading it.
Right. Make sure you understand everything.
Like, what specifically are they saying?
Yeah, and what about your severance? Any other benefits? Is it all in there?
Okay, and what if, like, something seems off? Like, you don't think the reason they're giving is legit?
Or they're not giving you what you deserve.
Exactly.
That's when you need to start asking questions.
Okay, like, who do you talk to?
Start with HR. Maybe talk to your union if you have one.
Okay.
You can even talk to a lawyer.
A lawyer.
Yeah, someone who specializes in employment law.
I see, because you have the right to challenge this whole thing, right?
Absolutely, if you think it's unfair.
Or if they didn't do it properly.
Exactly.
So it's all about being informed, knowing your rights, and not being afraid to, like, speak up, stand up for yourself.
The more you know, the better you'll be able to handle it.
And protect yourself.
And remember, you're not alone in this. There are people who can help.
Organizations, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess this whole deep dive, it's really shown how important it is to be prepared.
That is.
Like, if you know what to expect, it's a lot easier to deal with.
Absolutely.
Like Romeo, right?
Yeah, he's a good
He
example.
could have just accepted it.
Walked away.
But he fought back.
And he won.
Like they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Sometimes you got to make some noise.
To get what you deserve.
It's true.
And that's what we want people to take away from this, I think.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to be that squeaky wheel.
Learn about your rights, know what you're entitled to, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself.
I like that, yeah.
It's all about being empowered.
And that's a great place to wrap things up, I think.
I agree.
Knowledge is power, folks.
Knowing your rights is so important.
It makes a big difference.
Hopefully this episode has helped with that.
Giving you some things to think about.
Remember, you're not alone in all this.
Lots of resources out there.
People to help you.
So thanks for joining us on the Depth Dive.
It's been fun.
Until next time, stay curious.
Stay informed.
And stay empowered.